Hey there. Today is day 6 of working on an untitled project, so let's hop right in. So there are two new enemies that are added in, the Wanderer and the Treasure Tank. The Wanderer is up here in this little boxed off area and also on the side. The Wanderer wanders about, sort of swaying side to side, and also bounces off of walls, charging up and shooting projectiles at the player. It does not bounce off of other enemies. I'm pretty okay with how that one turned out right now. Then there's the Treasure Tank, which when it sees the player, it can't see through walls, will turn and attempt to charge at the player until, and now if you get hit, you take a big chunk of damage, and if you stay connected, it burns you for an extended period of time. Apart from that, I also fixed the problem where you were able to aim and shoot while paused, which, a nice quality of life. I also made it so the UI updates again for the names of the weapons that was broken the other day. That now updates dynamically, so if I go back to the main menu and come back here, you can see that it updates back to what is actually equipped. Oh, and I also made it so that the pause manager for pausing the game also uses the new input system that Unity has. I forgot to touch on that. I forgot to actually make that happen yesterday. I just forgot that because it's a separate script. But now that's hooked up to the new input manager, which will help with controller support and key rebinding. Though that probably won't be a key that's allowed to be rebound. So that's the critical updates to the game. If you want to click off the video, feel free. If you want to listen to me ramble, I'll go ahead and ramble. So, I have a lot of notes today. The Wanderer. I'm not sure I'm happy with the way that bounces. Right now it reflects off, just reflecting off whatever the normal is. But you can see, like, right there, that didn't look quite right. And when it hits a corner, it just doesn't behave gracefully. And so I'm trying to think of better ways of handling this. It's fine for now, but it might be better to have a smooth turnaround instead. But gameplay-wise, that might be awkward as well. It's just there are various reasons why you want it to just immediately turn around and keep going. Most notably that it isn't a sitting duck for that period of time. There's also the detail that the swaying restarts its pattern, so you can see that it always turns to the right directly afterwards because it's following a sine wave. Always to the right, always to the right. Which I should change that. I should make it randomized. Either it starts at a random location or it's a 50-50 between the 0 points, so it's 50-50 chance of turning to the left or right. And that looks like it just got a bit stuck. I've done a bit of work to make it so it can't bounce from a contact that's behind it, and it has a minimum bounce angle, so it will at least bounce 30 degrees. So if it scrapes right up against a wall, it will turn away from that wall a decent amount. That wasn't my attempt to make it better, but I'm still not happy with it. I'm also not quite happy with them not bouncing off of other enemies. As you can see right there, they're getting stuck. It just doesn't. Maybe it's just this is not a good test case because this is a really cramped environment and these need to be in a more open environment for them to really perform well. Maybe that's just where they need to go. maybe they should be able to bounce off other enemies, but with an internal cooldown, so they can only bounce off an enemy once every so often, because if they're able to just bounce off enemies constantly, if they run into a swarm, they're just going to freak out like crazy, and that's not going to look good. It's going to be like what happens in a corner, only 10 times worse, potentially. There's a lot to test on that front. Maybe I just implement a bit of localized avoidance, so that that overrides the swaying, so they try to navigate around other enemies somewhat. There's a project I did in college that I could use as reference for that. I did swarms of enemies that all had Boyd's behavior and avoided asteroids really well. Yeah, right there it got stuck again. They unstick reasonably quickly, and this is a cramped environment, but I'm still not happy with that. They're also a bit too tall right now, as you can sort of see. It's a lot better since I added in the trudge up animation there, but oh boy, they're kissing. But they're too tall, so when the projectile shoots out backwards, like you saw right there, it goes straight through the enemy, and you can't actually see the projectile for that time, which is suboptimal. The Wanderer needs to be either shorter or it needs to be transparent, which is eventually the plan, is to make most of the things transparent. Graphical. I'll get to that when I get to the outpass. But yeah, this enemy and the prototype enemy don't raycast, so they don't know if they can actually see the player. They just fire all the time, which is increasingly becoming a problem until I do a pass on that. It's fairly straightforward. I just need to go and clean that up. It's not a big deal right now because it's a prototype, and so it's excuses, but it's not, it doesn't break anything that this is happening, so it's low on the list. Oh, interesting. The initial contact on that one was on the rear end, and then it turned so that it was contacting the front. Ideally it would bounce in that case, but because it's only on collision enter... Oh, my cat just got off my chair. So she's gonna scrape at the door. Because it's only on collision enter that it's detected, it won't reevaluate whether or not it should bounce. That's interesting. That's an interesting edge case. I should keep that in mind. I made the projectile on this one bigger because I was noticing, and it was commented to me by a friend, that the one for the prototype enemy is very difficult to see. If I gather like one or two of them, like especially on video, like those are just difficult to see. I also looked at my video on mobile, and like you just cannot see them, so hopefully these are a little bit better. They're still probably too small. Like I still probably want them bigger. They'd be bigger obstacles, and it just makes them more visible, which is always a good thing. I can also try maximizing this tab and seeing if... Yeah, I'll get to see if this looks any good. Yeah. In general, I need to do a pass on weapons, like the blaster as well, and the grenade spray, and the starburst, and the railgun. Like all these have the same problem of they're too small. You can't really see them very well. The railgun you can't see because it's only there for like a single frame because it's so fast. It needs other effects on top of that to make it visible. So yeah. That's not the only problem it has. I'm actually just gonna leave this maximized for right now. So that's what I noticed on the Wanderer. For the Trojan tank, it feels too floaty. Like when I shoot this with the railgun, like it just sort of floats, and that just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't... I don't know. I need to do something. I need to figure out how to make the physics feel good in Unity. Because right now they just don't feel good. This is not an easy area to get things right. And just in general, they just feel floaty, and they don't have a weight to them that I want. I just need to tune a lot more. They can also get stuck on things in corners if I lure this one over here, and like lure him over to this corner here. He just gets stuck, and he'll just stay there because he's still charging. And if he stops charging, like, he'll turn, and then he sort of gets stuck again when he starts charging, and he just looks like a moron, like really, really dumb. And now he's trying to turn towards me, but he's hooked into this here, and this is again partially just what environments are these enemies good in, and this is another one that's good in big open environments rather than environments with lots of walls in the middle of them. Same basic problem if you run into a bud here. Oh, as a quick side note, you can break the frontal shield. It's just very difficult to do so. It takes like 5 real cannon shots. Or real gun shots. I forget what I name my weapons. That's also another note. The these guys are kinematic, so they don't. It's like you can push the bud around, but you can't push these guys around, so it looks bad. These guys should also probably behave differently once their shield is broken. Maybe they should still do damage if they impact you. I'm still not sure if enemies should deal damage on impact in general. This is something I haven't decided. I need to survey a few people and see what they think about that. Oh, wrong weapon. Intuitively fast-moving enemies impacting you should deal damage to you. That's what's intuitive. But yeah. Anyways, going back, part of the issue with them getting stuck in corners is they need more power behind their turns, and maybe they also need to like back up or move around a bit in general. The backing up, like, it's going to run the same problem if they're in a corner. Like, they'll back up into the corner and try to turn, and it's going to just be weird and awkward. So maybe they need to cast around them to determine what they need to do. Maybe just not using physics for it at all would be the right call in this particular case, because they are supposed to be the biggest thing around. They're supposed to force their way through. So, when they're like this and they're trying to turn, they just, they don't get caught on the corner like that. Though that's partially just due to their shape as well. They just turn. They just force the turn. Where was I? Just in general, this enemy feels particularly dumb, partially because it's so big, I think. Like, it's really big, it's bulky, it feels dumb. And that's... I don't know if that's a good feeling for it to have. Maybe it is actually okay, but understandably I might not want that to be the feeling of, enemies. It's missing a lot of nuances in its behavior, like, there's no pause before the charge, it just sort of launches straight into it. There's also a quick side note that I made of, maybe I should set the velocity of the charge instead of using a force. It just sets the velocity so it boom, just goes. Or otherwise give it a really big kick when it starts out, but that would only really work if there was first an initial pause before it then went vroom. So gotta experiment with some of that stuff. Yeah. It's also missing idle behavior, as is everything else, except for the Wanderer, which has no idle behavior, it's just always wandering. The shield passes through almost everything. Like it will, like the player can get hit by it and pushed around by it, but if it goes into a wall, it will just face through the wall. This is unfortunately just the only way that I could figure out how to do this right now, because the shield has to be a kinematic object, because it's a convex mesh collider. It needs to be kinematic so that it can be properly attached to the front of the base, to the front of the main body, so that the main body controls its motion. Because it isn't like an actual physics object, but I actually do communicate the how I handle the player being hit by this is, like the collision is communicated to the root entity, or the sorry, not the root entity, the root behavior, and maybe if I communicate collisions in general, I can then mimic them somehow, but that might be really complicated. I'm not exactly sure what's involved in that. I don't know. It's a problem to sort out for later. This isn't the biggest deal. It's just something I don't like, really. But yeah, shields in general just kind of face through walls, so having a big shield on front is gonna face through walls. Maybe there's a better way of handling this that I just don't know about, though. This one in particular reinforces how much the player just needs to be operated by physics instead of the normal tick update. I saw a setting in the physics to set physics to use the normal update timing, which would cause the physics step to not be fixed but resolve. So it wouldn't be fixed, but it would resolve some of the other problems that I would have with changing because my experience with changing the player character to using fixed update is that when the camera is following during the normal updates and the player is moving on the fixed updates, it looks terrible. My two solutions to this are either this or changing the rate of the physics updates to at least 60 frames per second and hoping that's enough. So not sure what I'll do on that. I'm gonna look at that tomorrow, though. Changing the physics update to using the normal update loop is basically going to be a more generalized version of setting the fixed update to 60 frames per second. It'll mean that's not consistent frame to frame, but maybe that's just okay, and I just have to accept that. The game will run differently at different frame rates, and some games do that, and that's okay. This isn't going to be a make or break deal, probably. This enemy really emphasizes how much better spawning logic is needed, because there are times when just a ton of them can spawn in a room. I can't move my character for some reason. That's weird. That's... Nothing's disabled. I mean, keyboard and mouse play like this. This should be fine. Why does it suddenly not work? That's really concerning. Okay, that's fine. Go to the main menu, play, and I can't move my character, and I can't do anything. Weird. And I also can't pause. So for some reason... Okay, for some reason, this scene is okay. The other one is not. I'm just gonna debug this here, and, you know, this video will be a bit longer for it, but... but yeah, maybe opening the input debugger would be good. I'll just apply these, and let's just see if opening it in here does anything. That, just double checking that that got applied. Default map player. I have no idea what's going on. I'm not sure when this broke because I spend most of my time in, and now this is fine. If I go to the main menu and click play again, everything's fine. So it must just be because the default action map isn't set, but I'm not sure when that would have changed. Weird. And just to make sure, going to the demo scene 2, yeah, everything here is fine. Then going back here, everything is fine. But anyways, that's weird. Anyways, as I was saying, you can sort of see, like, the spawning logic needs to be improved. You have enemies glitching into each other, horribly. Might I add, and just too many of these big Trojan tanks, like 5 of them. You really only want like 1 or 2 of these guys. 5 is just too much. So the spawning logic really needs work, because right now I have minimal control over how any of this functions. So, yeah, you can also see that one's stuck against the wall. Yeah, that's just a major problem. Partially it's the shape of it, I think. Yeah, I don't really like the shape of it. I designed it, I mocked it up really quickly, like. What I'm doing for that is I'm just like putting it into GIMP and like doing this, and like it worked. It gave me sort of an outline of what what am I designing, but like I just put that into Blender and model it out. But I don't really like the way it looks right now. The Wanderer I'm more okay with, but this one, the Trojan tank, just, I don't know, it looks bad. I'm considering maybe just trying like a giant triangle that's pretty wide for it, or a triangular pyramid. That might look a lot better. But yeah, that's a later problem. and this is what I made at first, so this is what I'm stuck with, at least for the moment. I'll do another path on it soon. Last note is I forgot to use the finite state machine tool that I downloaded yesterday to do the state machines for the treasure tank. The Wanderer doesn't need them, but the treasure tank could have used them, and so whoops. So I'm going to do cleanup paths in the near future where I just swap over all the state machine logic to use the new finite state machine helper framework, and that'll just take an hour or so to do, and then it'll be a lot easier to modify the behaviors and extend them and so on and so forth. It'll be nice. Anyways, that's all for now. If you have any comments, questions, ideas, or anything else in your mind, leave a comment below. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.